we're talking about some drag racing now.
Yeah, right. Something we understand completely.
And it's out in the open.
Right, right.
That's speed. We got speed.
Speed? Well, Don, you're obviously a legend. I mean, there's nobody that's ever heard of drag racing that hasn't heard of Don Garlits. And you've been living this your whole life. I mean, how'd you get started? I mean, were you born with a steering wheel in your hand or what?
No, but when I was young, if it had wheels, I wanted to make it go as fast as it could go, like my bikes. I wanted to jump over things. I was a daredevil, and I was always getting hurt, bruised, and cut up. My mother just made her sick, and my dad, he didn't know what was going to become of me. And of course, then in 1950, they had a drag race up in Zephyr Hills, Florida. It was announced the city fathers were going to let the kids use the runway, the old abandoned runway from World War II, where they flew B-17s. And we all went up to Zephyr Hills, and I was very first in line. I got a big #1 put on the side of my car in shoe polish. And when I came home, my mother had a fit. But that's poetic that it was a #1 on the car.
It is.
At the first drag race in Florida.
Now, what were you running?
It was a 40 Ford convertible with a Cadillac engine in it.
So you were swapping them early on?
Oh, yeah. I was always into cars. My first car that I didn't do very much to was a 44 two-door sedan, but that was what I was learning. I didn't know engine from the rear end in that car, but I learned fast. It all started at Hillsborough High School in my senior year. I was taking a General Metals class because I had an extra hour. I had enough credits because I'd taken ROTC, so I had plenty of credits to graduate. But I was taking an accounting course, so I needed this one bookkeeping class that was in the afternoon. So I had some time there to waste, so to speak. So I did a study hall for one, and I did General Metals for the other, just for a lark. And in fact, out in my case out there is a little lantern that I built during that General Metals class, and I still have it.
Riveting and all that?
Oh, the riveting, yes, bending and riveting. And Mr. Fowler, the General Metals teacher, brought a hot rod magazine to school, a 1949 one. And I think it was the Roadsters parading down Los Angeles. And I was totally hooked. This is what I wanted to do. And of course, it wasn't something you could go do then. There was no drag races then. It wasn't until that June of 50 that they even had a drag race. Of course, we were screeching our tires on the street. We thought we were drag racing, you know.
Well, there weren't even speed shops then. I mean, if you needed something, you had to make it, didn't you? I mean,
yes, you had to make everything. You could buy dual carburetors and aluminum heads and camshafts, but most of the stuff was made. In fact, clear up until 1957, Swamp Rat 1 out in the museum is a hand-built car from a frame cut out of a 1931 Chevrolet. And the cross members taken out, and those two rails were used to fabricate the rail for that car, which was a world championship car, first car over 170 miles an hour.
Well, where'd you come up with the design ideas? How'd you know how to, cut a Chev frame to make it the Swamp Rat 1?
A lot of that's just in me. My father was a Westinghouse engineer. He had electrical engineering. He was on the team that designed the electric iron and also the first electric fan. There was a 5-man team, did those two projects, and he was part of that team. So he was kind of a genius, and he left Westinghouse in the late 20s and moved to Florida for health reasons. And he taught me a lot. I watched him work and watched him make things out of nothing, and I saw that. And with tools, and I always had tools, and I worked in the shop with him all through that youth, and it does something. You learn things when you're young like that. You shouldn't be playing Pokemon and looking at the TV and seeing idiot stuff. Children should be out in the shops working, in the fields working. They should be doing things that takes energy, and then they wouldn't be thinking about drugs and smoking and all this kind of crazy stuff that we got today. We have too much spare time today. Matco Tools has sponsored me for my Indianapolis run when I got to do my 300, and they're sponsoring me for the race I'm going to compete in at Pomona, the World Finals.
What's it like to go 300?
It is really something that's hard to describe in words. It's a thrill beyond belief. I mean, you're sitting there on the starting line and you stump on the throttle, and 4.5 seconds later you're 1,320 feet down the street. Let me see if I can do it quiet. That I came out early in the morning to walk my little Yorkshire Terriers, and a van come wheeling in the driveway at about 10 minutes to 8. We weren't even open, and ran over my little Bonnie dog, killed her right there in the driveway. And he's just terribly upset.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
He's just looking for her everywhere.
Are we speeding again?
Yes, sir.
Where did the whole Swamp Rat thing come from?
Well, that was 1960. The sport was just starting to grow, and we're starting to get match races. Because I'd run the 176 and was getting a lot of publicity. I was getting more publicity than this guy in Detroit was, Seto Postoian, who was the big-time drag racer up there, and he'd won a few races. He was fast. And so he put an ad in Drag News and said, it's no wonder they call you the Swamp Rat, because I just got this new guy to drive the car. Art Malone, he was just a green kid, he called him. Said, you put a green kid in a top fuel dragster and you don't care about safety and all this kind of stuff. You know, he's making a lot of noise to beat up get the match race circuit going. And sure enough, the strips all called him, but he wouldn't go to them. So it didn't make any difference. And we did have, from that, we had one of the biggest races that was ever held at Riverside, California in the December. It was actually 1960 that he did, 59 he did that, because 1959 December we had this big race, and it was the Swamp Rat came from Florida, and Postoian was supposed to be coming from Detroit, but when we all got out there, he wasn't there.
He didn't show.
No, and we won the race. So, and then it had this big drag news. It says showed the rat came to California and got the cheese.
Now, where'd you come by the handle Big Daddy?
Well, that was later. That was 62. That was Indianapolis. I was, the NHRA was all gasoline in these days. There were no fuel cars running. They canceled fuel in 57 and didn't go back to it till 63. So in 62, the Chrysler Corporation, I was working pretty closely with them by then, had super stock Dodges and stuff like that red one in the back. And they wanted me to put one of these wedge motors in a gas dragster with a supercharger and go to Indy. So I did, and I got up there, and I was 30 years old, and most of the gas guys were like sportsman guys. They were younger, in their 20s, and I had my two little girls with me, toddlers, and they were calling me Daddy Garlits, but he was over the hill because I wasn't running real good. I wasn't running as good as these guys that ran it on a regular basis. But I sorted it all out, and finally zipped down the course 181 miles an hour for a new gasoline record.
So there.
And the announcer, Bernie Patry, says, well, I guess we're going to have to call him Big Daddy from now on.
So that's where it came from?
And it stuck.
Wow. You know, I go out and look at Swamp Rat 1 and stuff, and I mean, the parts it's built out of, even the tires, what were drag slicks back then. I mean, could you actually buy them that way, or did you have to recap them to be slicks or shave them, or could you really buy slicks back in the late 50s?
You could buy them. They were capped originally, but in 1957 I went to Chester, South Carolina, and I took a set of M&H Cruiser tires up there. That was a tire that M&H Tire Company built for round track cars. But it was almost 6 inches wide, but it wasn't a recap, it was a real tire. And when I went 176, I went that on Bruce recaps. And a good friend of mine who kind of looked after me, an older gentleman, Fred Gosher, he said, Don, he said, you know, you shouldn't be running 170 miles an hour on a recap tire. He said, that cap comes off. He says, it could hurt you real bad. You're sitting right there in the cockpit beside it. He said, why don't you try a set of these Cruiser tires? He says, they're a little bit narrower. They were like 6.5 inches versus a 7-inch Bruce track. But it was because the corners were rounded. You know, a quarter of an inch on each side make up the half an inch. So he said, try these. So I tried them, and they were real good. So I was running these Cruiser tires, and I went to Chester in 57. I had them on the car, and Marvin Rifchin from M&H Tire was just there looking around. And we went $8.95 on these Cruiser tires for low ET of the meet. And he was really impressed. He said, I'm going back and build you some 8-inch wide real tires. And, of course, that's what really broke drag racing out of the doldrums, was the fact we had a real tire that was made. And it was a couple of years before they really caught on to that in California. They didn't get them till I got out there, and they didn't like them because they were from the East.
How about the front wheels and the front tires on some of your cars? What What did you fabricate those things out of to begin with?
I went to the motorcycle shop and just bought motorcycle rims, and then took a Ford hub and machined it down and welded the little spoke rims on it, you know, that held the spokes on the inner tip of the spoke.
Well, it's funny because that's
And
exactly
I laced them up myself.
that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like a motorcycle tire on a Ford hub.
That's what it is.
So you really, I mean, you just had to build it all. You had to come up with the idea. I need this or that, and you just had to create it.
Well, that's how it was. There wasn't a lot of parts that you could buy. The Wyan made me the 8-carb manifold. That was nice. But we fabbed them before that. You can see the 6-carb that I fabbed sitting there by the Swamp Rat 1. And I was getting ready to fab up an 8, and Wyan called me, said, we'd like to make that for you out of aluminum, and so you wouldn't have to fabricate it. And so they made 5 of them. I have 2 of them in my possession.
I think I saw one sitting by.
Well, the one you see is a 6. The 8 is on the car, and I have another 8 in the back that they made. But right after that, we went to blowers, and so it was blowers, not carburetors. Wouldn't get it anymore. The carbureted engine made about 700 horsepower, and the blower went right up to 1,000.
Well, a lot of the body was fabricated based on your metal shop skills, your high school metal shop skills, basically, right?
That was good training, the metal shop, how to work with metal, and of course mostly it was all steel. We didn't do much aluminum in the metal shop, but the aluminum, you know, we did in the racing, and it was easier to form, easier to work with. Wasn't easier to weld.
So what engine is Swamp Rat 1 running? What did that run?
Well, it started off with a 1954 331 Chrysler, then we got a 55, then a 56, and finally the 57, which it settled in on, the 392 cubic inch engine. That was the best one of the early Chryslers.
Was that the Fire Dome or?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Fire Dome V8.
that's a heck of an engine.
Yes, it
That
is.
was how much horsepower were you pumping out in that?
I think when we finally put the 392 away and went to the 426, it was up around 1,800, 2,000 horsepower.
And what kind of weight in that car?
The Swamp Rat 1 weighed, without the blower now, this was when it was unblown, the way you see it out in the museum, weighed around 1,450 pounds.
I mean, that's a phenomenal power to weight ratio.
Yeah, 2 to 1. 2 pounds to every horse, which was really good.
Well, but setting up like the pedal geometry and the steering and all that, again, that was just stuff you made up, huh?
Yeah, it just built up from scratch.
Your steering mechanism is wild. What is that in the Swamp Rat 1?
I took the steering out of the 31 Chevy and took it apart and lengthened the shaft to make a center steering out of it so the steering could be in the center and the shaft come out the side. So it was a 31 Chevy steering box modified.
And then the steering handle, it's not a wheel. There are basically 2 grips there.
Yeah, I made that from the 31 Chevy steering wheel. I took the original wheel and took the rubber off of it and reformed the rods and re-welded it and made it from the original 31 Chevy wheel.
No kidding. You'd
Yeah.
never know it to look at that.
No, it's completely modified.
Well, then, what was the progression? So you went, you were the winningest guy back in the 50s, and you kind of kept on being the winningest guy. How did this sport evolve from, your garage at home to some of the more high-tech machines you were running?
Well, by 1960, we realized that the cars needed a lighter frame. The 31 Chevy frame rail is pretty heavy, so we designed a tubing car in 60, and they brought it out in 61, Swamp Rat 3. Swamp Rat 2 was also a tubing car, but it's square tubing. It was still relatively heavy. We went to the Chromoly tubing in Swamp Rat 3. We built 3 of those cars. And by the time we built the 3rd one, we were building these cars commercially and selling them to other racers out of our shop in Tampa. And I think that was really the first Chromoly tubing car. However, in the 50s, Scotty Finn was in California making tubing cars out of exhaust pipe tubing, which were quite effective. There's several of them here, Chassis Research. And they were a lot more heavy, though, because you had to use exhaust pipe tubing and have the same safety and strength. You had to have a lot more of it, where we didn't have to have as big a tube or as thick a tube with the Chromoly. So the Chromoly actually took over and left the exhaust pipe tubing cars in the dust.
Well, you really were one of the first speed shop guys too, really. I mean, to make that a business, weren't you?
There were speed shops before me. The first speed shop that I remember was Honest Charlie in Chattanooga, Tennessee. He was a mail order house, and we, in the 50s or mid 50s, we would mail to Chattanooga and order parts, and he'd ship them around. But then I opened my speed shop in 1957 in Tampa, and I sold the stuff myself direct. I bought direct from the manufacturers, and I did that for a long time, clear into the 70s before I actually went and quit it completely.
Now you were in Tampa, but you were up north for a while, weren't you?
I spent 2 years in Troy, Michigan. 65 and 66, I moved to Troy, Michigan, had a shop there. It was a research and development shop working for Chrysler. The speed shop stayed in Tampa, but in April of 66, tornado came through and wiped the speed shop out. So we came back down and cleaned up the wreckage, and my family didn't like the winters in Detroit. So by late 66, we had moved back to Florida, but we moved, meantime, my father had been killed in an automobile accident. He lived out in Seffner, so when we moved back to Tampa, we moved to Seffner, which is a suburb of Tampa. And then we went back into the parts business big time, had High Performance World, and built chassis. And of course, that's where the rear engine car was designed. And we moved on downtown to High Performance World and continued building commercial chassis for quite a while.
Yeah, you look at that, and you could see there was some weight in that. I mean, there was some serious metal in the frame of that car.
Yeah, those 31 Chevy frame rails, they were lightweight as frame rails go, and they were shaped nicely, and they were tempered, so they were strong. That's why we liked them. A lot of guys built sprint cars. You can tell the cars in that era resemble sprint cars.
Mm-hmm. Now, I can't call that a pretty car. And wasn't there something I read out there about it? They wouldn't even photograph it.
You're talking about the Model T rails.
Yeah, the Model T rail
of the Flathead Dragster.
Right.
That was before they were Swamp Rats.
Okay.
Yeah, that was T rails, like 27 T rails, and they wouldn't put it in the magazine when it won the race at Lake City in '55.
Like it was just too ugly.
I guess whatever their reason was.
Now that was a Flathead V8 car. Is that what you really started with the dragsters, with the Flathead V8 or not?
Yes, all my racing started with Flathead V8s. Well, everybody did. That's what we had, and there was a lot of equipment for. In fact, in the early days, we didn't think the overheads would ever outrun us because they were so big and hawky, and they were cast iron, and who was going to make aluminum heads for them and stuff like that. Things did change.
Oh yeah, oh didn't they though? Well, was that thing running Edelbrock heads? Is that what's on there? It looks great. I mean, it takes me back in time when you look at that. Flathead V8, Edelbrock heads. I mean, that was the early days.
Yeah, and they're sweet little engines. There's a lot of people build them even today. A guy came here this weekend and got some rods from me. He's putting one together.
Is that right?
Yeah, for his 39 Ford.
Gosh. Well, now, so Swamp Rat 3, first your Chromoly tubing car, you're now selling these to other racers. Did it kind of become the standard in drag racing? Was that frame kind of the standard?
Yeah, they were all looked kind of like that for several years, and then in 1964 we made what we went to the round back. We got bent tubes instead of square back like the Swamp Rat 3, and it had a swoopy tail section. That's the Swamp Rat 6 you see out there, and we sold those. A lot of those we had a mold, still have it for making those bodies, and we sold a lot of those cars.
Were those fiberglass bodies?
Yeah. The back section.
Yeah.
Front was aluminum, back was fiberglass.
I mean, that's a real mid-'60s look. It was.
Yes, it is.
And in fact, some of the prettiest ever built.
Yeah. We sold the cowl section and the tail section, and everything else was flat panels,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was really kind of a, from an art standpoint, that was perhaps the most artistic era.
Yeah. That was our Art Deco period in drag racing.
Well then, okay, so that takes us through the 60s. What evolved then? I mean, I see a lot of these Streamliner cars out there.
Well, what happened in 1970 then, the Slingshot Dragster had really reached its epitome, and it was really very violent and very dangerous to drive, and I blew my foot off Long Beach, California in March of 1970, and I designed the rear engine car. Came out with that in 71, and that changed the whole look and shape because you could do so much more. And there was Streamliners built, but it was all too heavy. You see them out there. The weight was prohibitive. Today with carbon fiber, you might make some of that work. In fact, the funny cars look kind of like that. If you take a real good look at a funny car, you'll see that look. It's just that they got a windshield and all to kind of make them look like some kind of passenger car, which they're not. But you can see that general design and shape would work today in one particular class, but it still would be a little on the heavy side. Funny cars are a little heavier, you know, than fuel dragsters.
So the rear engine car came, you built that after the accident. What year did you come up with the rear engine car?
I developed the rear engine car in 1970 and debuted it at California in 1971 in the winter races. But I had been working on it since September of 1970. Blew my foot off March of 70 and went right to work. As soon as I got out of the hospital, went right to work on designing the rear engine car.
And how'd it do?
It didn't do good at first. During the testing, it was a handful. It took a lot of experimental work. Finally figured out that the steering was too fast. We slowed the steering way down where you could control the car, and that was it. It's just like the Bonneville cars. They have real slow steering.
Otherwise, you're all over the place?
Right. You react to the car's motion and you overcorrect. So it's got to slow the steering down so you don't overcorrect.
So your first rear engine car was running what engine?
We were now on the 426. I went to the 426 Hemi in 1966 with Swamp Rat 10.
Quite a progression. I mean, now we're up to 10. Okay, what happens after 10?
Well, 10 came 11, which was I shaved my beard. That's still a slingshot. I'd made a comeback. They said I was over the hill. And 68 had couple of real good years there. 67, 68 won the Nationals back to back. Come out in 69 with this two-speed car, the transmission car, and that's what blew up and took my foot off. And then, of course, 70 came out with a rear engine car, 71, and then it's just been the development of the rear engine car. 75 became the first car over 250 miles an hour. And this kind of rocked and rolled along there in the 80s. Kind of got out of it, built a museum in 84, came back after a couple of year retirement and won the U.S. Nationals.
You were over the hill again, of course.
I was over the hill. Malone and I went up to Indy, two old dinosaurs with a 81 car out of the museum, kicked some butt up there. And Malone said, "You're not over the hill." He said, "Let's go to Pomona to the World Finals." Went out to the World Finals and beat them all again. Malone says, "What in the world are you doing retired?" He said, "Let's get a sponsor and go racing." So 85, I built a brand new car, came out, set the world record 268 miles an hour and won the world championships. Built the Streamliner, which is in the Smithsonian, the Swamp Rat 30, and became the first car over 270 miles an hour. Won the world championship again. Did the big famous blowover. But come back, fix the car, and won the championship with it. Built Swamp Rat 31 on the 6th pass with it in 1987. It blew over real bad at Spokane. I broke my back. And I was out of racing for 6 months, according to the doctors. And in the meantime, television came along and offered me a job at NBC and Diamond P Sports. And I worked on television ever since. Been with television since that time. And I built Swamp Rat 32. 31 was crashed. It's in the museum in the back. 32's back there built. That was my new design. Watching them on television, I could see that the sport had stagnated and it needed a new design. So I came out with 32 and had a special parachute and hurt my eyes and couldn't drive it. They didn't have some of the good laser stuff they got today. And so I got Bruce Larson to drive the car, and it was kind of a mediocre deal. We didn't have a lot of money, and there wasn't a lot of excitement about the design. We built 34, which was the 32 was kind of like a prototype car because it was so different. Came out with 34, which was out here in the garage, which was a really nice car. And come to find out, Bruce was actually lifting early. That's why it never went 300. He was shutting it off before he got to the end. We finally figured that out with the computer. And so I just backed off of it completely. Recently I got an idea. I wanted to do my 300, so I brought the car out of mothballs and started working on it. And about 10 days before the race at Indy, they informed me the car wouldn't pass tech, and it was impossible to fix it in time. So I borrowed Gary Clapshaw's car and went up to Indy and went to 303, 472, and But I'm still working on it. I've now just about updated the car completely. I should be able to drive it in some of the races next year at the NHRA.
What happened with the blowovers? I mean, how'd that happen?
Well,
I mean, pretty spectacular.
yeah, they are. The problem is the car's got to be lightweight on the front end. You got to have the weight on the back. And the front wheels should just be barely skipping along. If you got the front wheels nailed to the ground too hard, the guy in the other lane's liable to outrun you because he'll have more weight on the rear wheels. He'll get more traction. It's all about traction. You got lots of horsepower. These cars make about 8,000 foot-pounds of torque when they go to lock up at 2.5 seconds into the run. And it takes a lot of down pressure. They get it with the wings. They do everything. But that front end is just barely got to be skipping along. So if the least thing goes wrong, like you use a little too much fuel on the starting line or whatever, and that thing gets up, it just blows over. The wind gets under the car and blows it right over.
So you went straight up.
Yeah.
You come back
Twice.
down?
Yeah.
Twice. Yeah, that is probably one of the most spectacular shots in all drag racing, is that car standing on its end.
It's been run a lot of times on TV. It's been in a lot of TV shows.
And rightfully so. So it's you know, as you got faster and faster, was it just more and more thrilling, or was it more and more scary?
It was a little bit of both. I guess it depends on the track that you're at. If you're at one of the real modern tracks with all the safety devices, it's thrilling. But if you're at a track and you don't have to have many things not there, like them special guardrails and all the stuff they got there. If any of that's not there, it's scary to drive down through there so fast. Because the tracks were all designed for like 200, 225 mile an hour cars. Most of the tracks were built during that era. And even the new ones that are built today, they don't make them that much wider, and they really should. And so we're running, I would say, 50, 60 miles an hour faster than the tracks were really designed for.
That's the scary part.
Yeah.
The museum's fantastic, and I mean, nobody else probably even could have done what you did with it. But what inspired you to put the Museum of Drag Racing together?
That's funny about those things. It was just a little spark over in England. We went over to England in 1976 to do a match race, 2 different weekends, and they allowed a break in between the 2 events, so in case there was rain, they would have a rain out date. Well, the first event came off without a hitch, and so there was a weekend open, and the first one was the big one. So the English on the weekend off took my wife and I on tours throughout the English countryside, and we visited several car museums on these private estates. And they had all kind of little things, you know, artifacts from the different English racers. Not drag racing, you know, just their sports car racing. The Sterling Moss had stuff everywhere, people like that, you know. And I just casually remarked to the English fellow that was with us, Les Brooks, I said, Les, we ought to have a drag racing museum in the United States. And he says, why don't you build one? Just like that. And so my wife and I riding back on the plane home, we had about 5 or 6 of our cars tucked around here and there, you know, on storage. And we had this big estate there in Seffner with 16, 17 acres and paying lots of taxes. We thought, well, we put a building up and show the cars, the Don Garlits stuff, and charge a little admission, maybe pay the taxes. That's what they were doing in England on these estates. The taxes are so high where it's unbelievable. And so these people would do that. That's how they kept the estates up, with the show in these museums. And so we put a little 6,000 square foot building up and called it the Don Garlits Museum of Drag Racing, and started gathering some of my cars. And I knew where some of them were that I didn't own anymore. We formed it as nonprofit so that they could give the cars back and take a tax write-off. Well, the first car that I got that wasn't my own was the Greek's. I was up in Chicago, and the Greek would have nitro shipped to his shop, and I'd stop in and pick it up. So I was picking up my drum and nitro, and the Greek had his 1966 car that I always called a silver bullet because it beat me 23 straight in match races one time when I was trying to get the 426 running good, and he was still running 392, and he was really whipping up on me. And he had his car out, and it didn't have an engine, and he was cleaning it up. And I said, what are you doing with a silver bullet, Greek? He said, I'm selling it to some kids in St. Louis. I said, you would sell the silver bullet that beat me 23 straight times? He says, Big Daddy, he says, when you got to have nitro, you got to have nitro. It was about $1,000 a drum. I said, how about I give you $2,000 for it and take it down to the museum? I said, you wouldn't mind if I just placed old Swamp Rat 6 about 2 foot out in front of it on display? Then it'd be that one time I got you. He said, do whatever you want to with it. He said, I'd love for you to have it. He said, give me the money. So we set the thing on top of the pull-along trailer. We were racing, so he carried it home. And that was the first one we got. That was not my own.
Well, now you've amassed a lot more than that now.
Yeah, almost everyone's got a story to it. It'd take us a long time to talk about more.
Well, it's just, and the setting, I mean, the history out there, Don, is just fantastic. Again, I don't know where else it could have been done. Now, you're a lot bigger than 6,000 square feet now.
Yeah, we're 65,000 now. Let me tell you one last story about the Greek before we get away that tell you how it goes. 2 years later, the Greek came down to Seffner. We didn't move here till 83, see. So this is 76 when we started in Seffner. So about 78 or 79, the Greek comes down to race in Seffner. And we have the Silver Bullet now totally restored with an engine and everything in it. And it's sitting in there. And we didn't do that with it. We just had it in a line, you know. And he walked around through that place. And they had put his 1959 car that was the first one that be timed over 200 that went 204. It was in the Chicago Museum of Science and Industry. But they had taken it off display and had it in storage. And the Greek walked through the museum and saw his car sitting in there and saw all my cars. And he said, how would you like to have the one that was in the Science and Industry Museum? I said, oh, Greek, that would be really an artifact. We'd love that. He said, I'll go get it right now. And they unhooked their racing trailer and borrowed a flat trailer from me and drove straight to Chicago and got the car and brought it back.
Wow.
I was flabbergasted.
I can understand why.
He said, I'll go get it right now.
Well, when did you move it all here, Don?
Yeah, well, this is funny. By 1982, my wife sat over coffee one morning and she says, honey, she said, what are we going to do with this museum? I said, well, we're just going to have it. I said, it's wonderful. And she says, do you realize that not one person has ever paid one dime to look at it at this point? I said, I hadn't really paid that much attention. She said, well, I have. I do the books. She said, we have people looking at the cars. We're paying the taxes on the building, the power. She says, when you're not racing, she says, we won't be able to afford this thing. I said, well, maybe we ought to move it somewhere and get it up on the interstate where there's some traffic. She says, we got plenty of traffic. They just won't pay any money. It was all friends coming over. You know, we'd take them over and stop everything, take them through the place. I said, well, let's look for some. So about a year went by and we looked and spotted pieces of the property along Interstate 75. And finally one morning in late 82, I said, you know, we're not getting any younger because I think 82, I'll be 50 years old, right? Exactly 50. And I says to her, if we don't do something pretty soon, we won't want to do it much later in life. I said, let's go today and find us a piece of property. We've scouted out a couple of pieces. Let's go see what they cost. And so we gathered up our money and saw what all we had, and we looked like we had 80,000 in CDs, and my mother said she'd loan me 20. She had a CD, it was coming due, she'd loan me 20,000. So we went out the door with 100,000 that we could put our hands on. And we head up the highway. We go right to Brooksville first, and if we'd have bought anything in Brooksville, this thing would be a failure, because all the tourists turn left at the turnpike just south of us at the next exit. But we had no intention of coming this far north, because our family and all was down in Tampa. We thought, and Brooksville's a beautiful country, rolling hills and all. So we head up to Brooksville, and this piece that we'd been looking at, we drive, and it was a lot further off the highway than it appeared driving by, you know. So we get to it, it's about a mile away, and we price it. The guy wants $250,000 for this piece of dirt. There ain't even a tree on it. It's ugly, you know. So we don't like that. So make a long story short, we worked all day long, that exit, the next exit, and the next exit up, which was Somerville. The cheapest thing was $75,000. It was a little lot that you couldn't have put this building on. We were devastated. So we start back to Tampa, and we get back to Brooksville to the exit, and it's late now. It's 9 o'clock at night, and we had our 2 little Yorkies with us, and I said, honey, let's call down to Seffner, have the boys. One guy lived on the grounds, have them feed the Doberman dogs, and let's get a motel here in Brooksville and stay overnight and look again tomorrow. So we got so much time in. If we don't do this now, we're not going to do it. So we got down on our knees beside the bed and prayed to God to help us find the right place. And if we didn't show it to us, then we go back to Seffner, and probably we wasn't supposed to leave Seffner. I was raised there as a child, see. And so we did that. We got up the next morning, and we drove up. We came to Wildwood. That's the next one down. And it was awful. It's like a circus down there, you know. And the cheapest piece was 3 miles away, and it was $350,000. Completely out of range, you know. So the next exit's right here. We pull off here at the exit ramp. My wife looks over at this piece of property. She says, that's it. She says, look at that. Isn't that great? And there was an old man out here training a horse. There's a little round track on the thing he was training Surreys. And we drove around to 475 on the other side over there and looked at it, and it was just perfect. And she says, go ask him what he'll take for it. And I said, I don't want to bother him. He's doing that horse. I said, we don't know it's even for sale. So I walked down to the south end of the property, and under a little bush down there was a little bitty sign with a telephone number on it. It said for sale. And you could not see this sign unless you were out of the car and in the ditch. So I go over to the telephone over at the Stuckey's over there, which is the orange shop now, and I ring up this phone, and this woman answers, says, this is Shirley, what do you want? It's about 8:30 in the morning. She hadn't had her second cup of coffee yet. And of course, Shirley and I were having this wild battle about this time. And I said, well, you've got a piece of property over here on the interstate and 475 that I'm looking at, and it's got your number on it. She says, oh, I know the property. I said, well, what do you want for it? She said, $350,000. I said, well, that's a little out of our price range, man. Thank you very much. And she says, don't hang up. She said, it's a big piece of property, and maybe the owners will cut it up for you. Why don't you come down to our real estate office and we'll talk about it. So we drove into Ocala to Gus Galloway's, and she brought the plat out, and then we looked at it, and it wasn't even a piece of property we were talking about. It's a piece down the road about 2 miles at 475 near the interstate. This is 475A right over here, right beside us. And I said, no, ma'am. I said, the property I'm looking at is touches the interstate and then comes up against 475. She said, that's 475A. She says, I have that piece too. And so she went back and brought out the plat, and there it was, the exact piece we wanted. And the kicker was at the bottom of it, it said, cash only, $80,000. Now, was that a gift or what?
Thank you.
Yeah. A month later, we came up, my wife and I came up, and the old man was just leasing. He had nothing to do with ownership. And that's why he put the sign under the tree. Didn't want anybody to see it. But we didn't, he stayed another 3 or 4 months and got to move his fences and everything. And I'm just walking around the property. And the man next door was Robert DuPont. One of the DuPonts owns this horse farm next door. He came over to the fence line. He said, Mr. Garlits, he says, I understand you bought this property. He said, I didn't even know it was for sale. He says, I live next door in the winter when he comes down out of Canada. He said, we really want this property. He says, I'll give you $160,000 for it right now, cash. And I said, Mr. DuPont, that's a generous offer. I said, but I can never sell it. God gave me this property. And I meant it. And he couldn't understand that exactly.
Wow, so it truly was a gift, and now you've built this, you built the Drag Race Museum.
First year we had 11,000 visitors. We weren't even open. We officially opened in 1984 and had 27,000 that year. The next year was 54,000. We quickly moved to 65, and we had 85,000 one year when there was a rain out at Gainesville and Daytona, but we averaged about 75,000 visitors a year.
It's amazing, and you've got now, you started at 6,000 square feet.
The first building was 10,000 feet, and we added it 5,000, made it 15, and I'm sorry, the first building was 20,000 feet, then we added 10, which made it 30, then we added another 20, which made it 50, and then we added the little outbuildings of 15,000 square feet. There's a room back in the back, and whew, it's at 65,000 total footage on the grounds.
Now, beyond the drag race museum, you've also got the antique car museum. When did that, or was that all at once? Did it all come together, or did that come later?
Well, in '69, I actually started collecting early Fords because that's how drag racing got started. It all started with a '39 Ford that I found, a coupe. And I started putting together a little collection. When we came here, there was about 15 cars or so in the antique collection, which we sold a lot of them because to get the money, we had $1 million invested here when we opened the doors in '84 with the buildings and everything. So we sold some of our nice stuff to finish it up. But we've added to it since then, and we've got a lot of classic cars. I have Eisenhower's last car that he owned, a 1956 Chrysler Imperial, four-door sedan.
A lot of Fords over there.
Yeah. We have the early Ford Foundation East Museum with a lot of artifacts from the early Ford from 32 to 53, the Flathead era.
It's an amazing setup, and I've just breezed through it. I want to go look at it more closely, but you seem to have had a good time through life, drag racing, and sharing all this with people and stuff. If you were to advise kids today at all about getting into the hobby, or what would you tell them?
My advice to a youngster today, I get asked that question a lot, is you should do what you want to do. You should do in life what you love to do. Forget the money. If there's any way to eke a living out of it, even if you can't make a living out of it, do it anyway, and then do whatever you have to do to make a living on the side. But do what you love, because you're only going to get one time around. So you need to do what you love. Like when I got into drag racing, it wasn't a business. There wasn't any way to make money in it. And look what it's done. I helped make it what it is today because I loved it. I did it 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. I went to bed thinking about it. I woke up in the morning thinking about it. And that's how you got to be successful. You can't be successful doing something that you don't like. If your hobby's what you like, that's what you ought to do. Get into your hobby as a business if that's what you want to be. Because my wife and I, we got married in 1953 and we took our first vacation in 1974 because there wasn't time for vacations. We were drag racing. We were doing what we loved to do, and that's why it was successful. It wasn't something that I just did because it was a way to make money. There was no money in the beginning. It was my love. And anybody that does what they love. In other words, this one kid came into my office and he came from New Orleans and he just flew in. He says, this was down in Seffner. He said, I've come for your secret. He said, and I don't want it for nothing. He said, I brought my check with me. He says, I have a check here. I'm going to cut you for $10,000 when this conversation is over, if you tell me your secret. And I said, the secret is simple. I said, do what you love, work 7 days a week, take no vacation, no time off. Think about it going to sleep. Every moment that you're awake, think about what you're doing and how to better it, how to improve it. And I said, eventually, that'll be what you do and you'll be successful. And I said, don't take any vacations either. I said, I told him my wife and I'd taken ours in '74. He got up, he says, I'm going back to the airport. He says, that's no secret. You're just a slave. Oh.
It is great stuff, Don. You are a living legend. So, Don, is it all about reaction time?
That's a lot of it. You got to be able to think ahead because, like when you get to the 8th mile, when I went up to Indianapolis, I hadn't driven 300 miles an hour, and Gary, the driver of the car, he says, now, Don, he said, it's real important. He says, this is the most important information I can give you. He says, when you get to the 8th mile, you'll see the 8th mile markers go by, and they'll go by real quick. You'll be running about 275 miles an hour. He said, you make a decision right then. Are you pointed in the right direction to go through the timing traps? If you're not, you abort. He said, because you'll be there in a second and a half.
That's a quick decision.
Yeah.
Wow. And I mean, it's just got to be exhilarating. I mean, it's just got to be,
yeah.
Hold on. Is this carbon fiber too?
Yes, all carbon fiber.
So this is state of the art. I mean, this is as good as it gets.
As far as I'm concerned, it's the latest state of the art because I run my fuel through the rails. They don't do that. They gave me a lot of heartache over that. But why should I have 2 extra big tubes in here when I got these rails down here?
Wow, so those
I'm
are
a closed canopy. Nobody has this. I think this is the only way to go. I mean, that looked like an airplane cockpit, right?
Fabulous.
Don't need an open cockpit. The mono wing, this supports the entire wing. There's a 3.5-inch tube in here, and this acts as a rudder to
Looks
hold
like
the
a
car.
737.
Yeah, and why? I mean, when was the last time you went to the airport and saw the tail sticking up on sticks?
They don't do that, do they?
No, I mean, this isn't something that I dreamed up. I mean, I saw this on airplanes, and I mean, I realized it. And plus I have a Bonneville car out in the trailer, and on that ice, it's slick, you know. If you didn't have a rudder on a Streamliner, you'd be dead. Exactly.
So then you're pretty much direct coupled then from.
Yeah. That shaft, this shaft right here, goes into this. This piece right here is a cannon that controls the throwout bearing. That's all this is, and this is a little reverser, so you can back up. This little piece right here. But that's the shaft running through.
Now is this all explosion?
Yeah,
dampening?
That's just almost a joke. That wouldn't do anything.
Well, if it's taken off at a pretty high rate of speed, I would think.
Yeah. Anything blows up there, it all just blows away.
So how long is this car?
300 inches.
And now is that a regulation?
Yeah,
or?
they can't be over that. The wheelbase.
Yeah. It's a lot different than your early M&H.
Swamp Rat 1.
Yeah, the Swamp Rat 1, and those aren't motorcycle tires
Look
up
at
front
all
anymore.
the brain up here that runs everything. This controls all the clutch, all the fuel system. There's a computer that's recording everything. There's power for the ignition system. The ignition system has got is all of this stuff right in here, and it's got what they call a 6-pack. I can retard or advance my spark 6 different times during the run.
Gosh. I mean, do you have that's all done computer though?
Electronically.
Yeah, because
that's all done in the ignition system. The computer doesn't do it up there. That's only a data recorder.
I see.
The computer in here advances or retards the spark.
Now
That's
what
the only thing they allow you to do electronically.
is that right? Now what are your readouts?
Well,
on a
that's
car
got
like this?
anything I want. Any one of the channels, I can push either one of those buttons and get whatever I want. But all I care about is the RPM. In other words, I want to make sure that RPM stays exactly the same. Keep my foot off the throttle all during the backing up process and everything, so it stays just exactly the same. And go to the line in exactly the right sequence so that the car always has exactly the same heat in it. That's the important.
And it's going to behave the same way for you
right,
then. So what's the red line on an engine like this? What can they rev
They
to?
run up to about, they say 9,100 it starts to float the valves, but we don't like to run them much over about 8,600 right at the very end. It comes up to about 83, 8,500 at the hit of the throttle, then the clutch pulls it down to about 7,500, then it makes its march back toward about 85. It runs 8,600, it'll run 330 miles an hour.
Holy, I mean, so that's a quarter mile in what? How much time?
Well, the really fast guys do it in 4.4 seconds.
You're one of those fast guys, aren't you?
The fastest I've been is the 4.7.
Oh, down a whole 3/10, huh?
Yeah.
Now, and this is your fuel coming up here.
That's the main fuel line, main fuel delivery.
So I mean, you had to be pretty to make these fuel tight at your rails and everything. You got to be more precise in your welding, I would think, than a
But
typical.
when we weld on that, we're flowing argon inside and out, so that the weld is just as pretty inside and doesn't pick up slag.
Wow.
Yeah. You cap it and flow argon from a bottle and a regulator into the internally. Like, titanium has to be welded in a chamber.
Yeah.
Same reason.
Wow. This is state of the art.
This is just as it's the quickest accelerating vehicle other than a rocket dragster. This out accelerates the shuttle on launch. Now the shuttle picks up after it gets going, but the quarter mile, the shuttle wouldn't beat this car. But after that, it's all over. But a rocket dragster does beat this car. They have run rocket dragsters down in they would run in the 3s.
That's just got to be experience of a lifetime.
It is.
Every time you go down the track. Let's go out to the museum.
Okay.
This is a museum right here. All right. The history of drag racing.
Well, this is my favorite. Swamp Rat 1. Never sold it, always owned it. It was never in this nice shape. It sat outside for a number of years. In 1979, we put it back together to run, and been running it ever since.
It looks so 50s. You know, I mean, it's got a 50s look to it.
Yeah, it is. Well, it was built in 1956. Across the aisle, we have a replica of it the way it was the first time it was actually taken to the drag strip. But this is the way it was running and the way it looked at the end. And of course, we didn't want to change it back.
Well, and that's, you know, I mean, that's you, and that's how it all looked when it was campaigned, right?
Yeah.
And that's your, what'd you say, was it 27, 37?
31 Chevy
31
steering wheel, modified.
Now, I noticed in the picture you got it flexed out. In that picture, it looks like it's spread farther apart, and here it's collapsed down.
Yeah, we modified it during the years.
Which is kind of like bending it, right?
Yeah. He changed it around a little bit.
These slicks crack me up, though. I mean, what passed for a slick, and that's the.
That was the biggest, latest state of the art at the time. In fact, these are the original slicks that were on the car back then, because I'd sold them to this guy on the wheels, and he never used them. And when we restored the car in '79, he called me up. He said, "Don, would you still like to have those tires and wheels, the original ones?" And I said, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, come on up and get them." I went up to Leesburg, and there they were.
Well, you know what I love about them? Wide white walls. I mean, what kind of slick today are you going to get with wide whites?
Well, they made them that way for some reason, and the white walls had softer rubber because they weren't cured at as high a temperature, because it would bleed the black into the white, and so you actually had a softer tire by having a white wall.
So this was the one that was too ugly to be in the magazine?
This is it. This is the Flathead Dragster. We won the Lake City race, and in fact, there's some pictures of it up at Lake City in the bottom. The bottom 3 pictures are Lake City, and now they wouldn't show it in the magazine. And later, they did a scrapbook picture. You saw that in my office, and they did run it in hot rod then.
But I mean, even your steering mechanism is just so wild.
Yeah. Again, that's that 31 Chevy. But see, we hadn't modified the wheels yet. That's the 31 Chevy steering wheel.
This was a hold on and go.
But the frame here is 27T. But see, it took lots of reinforcement, because that's not a very strong frame.
And then this one?
This is the first time out. This is actually the way Swamp Rat 1 looked the very first time I took it to the race. In fact, here's the pictures of it at the Brooksville drag strip that day. And then we redid this car later, because this car then evolved into what you see over there. And so we had a frame here, and I said, well, let's just build it the way it was that day, where it would run. We could take it out and run it. And I've had a lot of fun with it. And it runs about the same as it did then. Yeah.
And that would have been those recap tires?
This is and I called M&H, and this is not a recap. This is the M&H.
Oh, that was the one they built for you?
Yeah. No. This is the one I bought from the Fred Gosher.
Oh, okay.
And M&H then built them for me when I did this car. I said, would you make me some of those again? He said, well, we'll see if we can find the molds, and they did.
Gosh.
But see this takes off. In other words, if that one came straight up, it would be wider.
I love your shorty springs, too.
Yeah. We thought it had to have suspension.
Got away from that later on, right?
Yeah.
Well, then you started getting long.
Yeah.
This is what? This is 10?
Yeah, this is 10. 3's over here in the corner, which is really the first tubing car. But it's out of sequence here. You want to go over and look at it?
Oh, yeah. Now what?
This is 11. This is the one I made. This is one of the first comebacks when I shaved my beard at Indy. They said I was all through over the hill. And we went up to Indianapolis and won the race.
Now here your rails are exposed versus,
lightweight. Yeah, we were getting away from the heavy bodies and everything.
Now what, were those aluminum? The
bodies?
Yeah.
Yes, all aluminum.
So I mean, you were just cutting out weight. Let it all hang out, huh?
And after that car came this car. Of course, we had the big sponsor from Smother's Brothers, so they wanted the body back on it. This car actually ran without the body for a while, like in this artist rendering. And then we put the body on it for the Smother's Brothers and ran it for a year, and then built this car. When it was too heavy, so we went back in 1969. This is 68. And went back in 69 to no body in the front.
Yeah, but how much? I mean, if that's aluminum, how much weight can that add? I guess just enough, huh?
Well, we were limited in horsepower. We only had so much power.
Yeah. Were you limited by regs, or were you limited by what you could get out from the technology?
What you could get out of it, what
Yeah.
we knew technically speaking. Technology hadn't reached that point. Of course, there's a transmission that blew up and cut my foot off.
Well, that's the one,
That's
huh?
the piece.
True.
Then I sold this car.
Is that the blow up there?
That's the blow up.
Holy mackerel. Don.
That's this car. Fact is, you can see this little, if you look right here, you can see this little dent in the roll cage right there.
Yeah.
That's this Allen screw head right there where it hit together. And that's how I identified this car, because we fixed it and sold it. Sewed it back together, and I found it with a Chevrolet engine down in Bradenton years later. And bought it from the guy.
But you knew from that dent, huh?
Knew from that dent that was the car.
God.
Like a serial number. And then the rear engine car that we built, the first rear engine car, that's on loan to NHRA right now, but it looks just like this.
Uh-huh.
And it's coming home now. We're trading out a car this winter, and it'll be home.
The flame, that's a great
Yeah,
picture with the
flame
flames.
burnout, yeah.
Gosh. Now what's this? Here.
This is one of my competitors' cars. This is Jocko Johnson built this body, the same guy that built all those Streamline bodies up there.
Right.
And this was for a slingshot. And he gave me this body. I was out in California years ago, and he gave me this body. But he didn't have the chassis, the original Woody chassis that went in it. And then I found one.
No kidding.
And we restored it back. It's quite a deal.
Oh, this is beautiful, but was it competitive?
No, it's too heavy, way too heavy. They didn't have a chance.
It sure looks cool.
Yeah. That's why it's in here, because it took all this stuff to figure out what would work and what wouldn't work.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, you guys were making it up as you went along,
Yep.
kind of like jazz musicians.
This was
Oldsmobile
the
rocket.
first car over 150 miles an hour. Again, it's not mine. This is Lloyd Scott's Busselbaum. Oldsmobile in the front, the Cadillac in the
Well,
back.
that's raw. I mean, isn't
All
that-
exhaust pipe tubing. It's one of those
Gosh.
tubing cars.
that is
Very dangerous, but 150.
engine in front, engine in back.
Dual engine. Two pinions. One ring gear, two pinions.
You know, I didn't even notice that the first time through. That is dangerous. That whole
And
thing
this
looks dangerous.
this one was high gear, not started, setting on the starting line at full throttle with just enough gas to go the quarter of a mile. And when he clutched off in this, it started this engine and it was full throttle and it just pushed him. And then it was supposed to shut off when he got to the end because
Did
it
it
ran out of
always?
gas.
Oh, yeah.
One time it didn't, and he had to drive around the airport because this was airports.
Well, look at that flathead.
Well, this is the first dragster. This was Dick Kraft's Bug. See him here? Here's the car before it has the body off. And he took the body off and modified it like this, and he went out to Santa Ana, and they said, you can't run that, it's just a rail. And they said, well, let me just make a time run, not for the trophy. So it was faster, so the next week, 5 or 6 more guys had the bodies off, so they made a rail class. And this was the beginning
This
of
was
dragster.
the beginning of rail dragsters right
And
here.
they had this thing in his barn, and he gave it to us.
Gosh, you know, I mean, you talk about a baling wire operation.
It
That
is,
gas tank
literally.
is held on with baling wire.
Yes, it is.
That is amazing. It took a brave man to drive that fast.
Yep. Well, look at him here. He doesn't even have a shirt on. and no helmet, just goggles. I mean, is that unreal?
That is crazy. And he did what?
A little over 100.
That's pretty amazing. Now this over here is Swamp Rat 3, right?
This is the first Chromoly tubing
Well,
car.
that's a pretty car.
It is.
That's a beautiful car. And were you running, is that a 426?
No, that's 392.
That's still 392, huh?
Mhm. Yeah, we didn't get into the 426 until Swamp Rat 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a beautiful car.
Yep.
Pretty competitive?
Oh, it was the first car in the 7s, went 788, and it almost did the 200, 198.96.
Gosh.
It's an awesome car.
Oh, this is a work of art. All the chrome on this and
Yeah.
everything? Did you run it this way?
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
Wow.
See, here it is, original picture. You can see the chrome in the picture.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that had to be a real crowd pleaser.
Yeah.
So what years were you running this?
61, 62, and part of 63. There was 3 of these cars, 3 Swamp Rat 3s. We call them A, B, and C. This is A. It's the Swamp Rat 30, the one that's in, this car's on the permanent display in the Smithsonian. These are just a few of the pieces from the blowover and the different stuff that we saved from it.
And that's the...
That's the induction ceremony.
Wow. You should have fired it up for that and everything?
Yeah, we fired it up. They wanted me to make a burnout in the street, and I thought better of it. There was thousands and thousands of people. I said, if anything goes wrong, it'll be the end of the world.
Yeah, yeah. No, you showed some restraint there, Don.
Yeah. Because they didn't have guardrails or really ropes or anything, and the people were they just kept, more and more people kept showing up, you know?
Yeah, well, gee, go figure. Now, what's the story on the Ed Roth?
I bought that. That's Ed Roth's yellow Fang, and it came up for sale. It was in a museum in Nags Head, and I went up and bought it for $10,000. It's a real, that's Art Deco there now.
Oh, that's vintage Roth. It's great stuff.
Yeah, it was really yellow when he had it, and they had done this for the car show circuit after he sold it. I'm going to put it back like it was.
Oh, no kidding.
And running. Connie Swingle made the first run in this car, the test run in it.
Oh, really?
They had it out at Long Beach, and nobody wanted to get inside. See, it's got a...
Oh, it's crazy.
See how it is?
And
nobody wanted to get in there, and Swingle said, I'll take her down. So we're gonna take it all apart and make it nice, make it a runner.
This one's pretty.
Yeah, this is Jim Booker's car. He's dead now.
This is a Barris car?
Barris did the body and paint. No, the paint.
He did the paint. Okay.
Quinn Epperly did the body. This is all 040. That's really hard to do. And it was done for Craig Breedlove.
Wow.
Craig Breedlove's car, Spirit of America. And it when they actually ran it, it was this color right here. Look, there's the building of it. And there's where it looks supposed to look like this blue deal.
Okay.
And then the car show circuit got it. And they ran it a year like that. And then they paint them so they got something different the following year. That's what they did to Roth's car. So we got to put it back.
It's
but
the
it's
same
got
car,
no
but
engine
it's not,
in it.
right?
So we're going to put an engine and all in it.
But again, not competitive, just too heavy.
Yeah. Actually, what happened, it wasn't all that heavy. He went over, if it's not here, he went over to Dave Carpenter and got a 494 cubic inch 392. Well, that wouldn't have worked in anybody's car. He needed a regular 392 and somebody that could build one like that Zuchel or somebody, but not this guy. And it never had, the engine was no good. The idea was fine.
Now this is, I mean, when I think of 60s drag racing,
Yeah, these are the vintage 60s
These are the ones
cars.
that I think of.
And Perdomes really ought to be over here. I'm thinking about moving them around a little bit and putting Perdomes over here too.
This one's gorgeous.
Oh, isn't that something?
That
That's
is
the Greek's
something else.
prettiest car, and you ought to have seen that thing when it came to us. They'd cut it in two. They'd sent it out to John Butera,
Yeah.
and he had it for about 5 years, and he said, oh, this thing is too rough. I can't do anything with it. So he cut it in two and put it in a great big box and shipped it here and said, Garlits, it's all yours. He says, if you can do anything with it, have at it. Well, we
it's
did.
just gorgeous. I mean, this thing is, I'm back in time when I'm looking at this.
Oh, yeah. And we just recently acquired the Kreitz and Donovan slingshot. Wow. And so we're going to, it's all together. It just needs to be painted. So I'm going to have a real row of them here. I'll put Perdomes over here, and then the Kreitz and Donovan, there's enough room over there for his. It's going to be a real lineup of these 60s cars.
Oh man, it's beautiful.
This was the sport slingshot wise in its heyday. It was dangerous though. All these guys got blowed up regularly.
Is that right?
Yeah. They said you could always tell a fuel driver because he had on this raccoon mask where he had to pull his goggles down to see and then got burned right around the eyes.
Yep. Yeah, this is that's a historic piece here.
They didn't run it very long, you know, because they came out with this car, and I showed up at the Winter Nationals with the rear engine car, and they had this car, and McEwen had the mate to it. This was the first time they ever built a drag racing model kit and then told the guys build cars to match this, and all of that was about weight in the back, so they would wheel stand when see there's the kit right there. And so they actually built these two cars just alike, and by the time Perdome got to Gator Nationals, my car was killing him. I'd already outrun him twice with the rear engine car, and he immediately built the red wedge car back there.
That's an odd car.
Very odd. And it was heavy, and he speeded the steering up and never could get down the drag strip with it, and never figured it out that we had the steering slowed down. And that drove him into funny cars. But a guy called here one day. He said, I got one of the Snake's cars. He says, I bought it from him at Gainesville. I painted it black. I took it out. I ran it once. It backfired and burned my eyes. He said, I never want to see it again. He said, would you give $5,000 for it? Running car.
Well, let me think about it.
I said, would you deliver it? He said, I'd be happy to. So it was all apart. So he brought it out here. We laid it out here on the pavement, laid the whole thing out.
And put it back together?
It was a complete car.
Are you kidding?
And so then we got all the pictures and painted it back like it was.
Oh, man.
But
Yeah,
what a
I mean,
find.
when I was growing up, this was, Don the Snake and Tom the Mongoose.
That's it. And that kit right there.
I remember that kit. I mean, I remember seeing that. Now, here's some more of the Streamliners.
Yeah. This is the first one. This is the Jocko car. It went 835.
That's pretty cool.
Way back in the beginning, but we figure it was because the body, that's when the clocks were about so high off the ground, and we figured the clock didn't come back in till way back here, so that made that, because it couldn't run that quick. But it got, that's what they said it did.
Well, I saw that, and I was like,
But it never outran anybody, and that was why, because it couldn't. It wasn't that quick. But then when we did the rear engine car, and it was getting so successful, Jocko thought that that's what we needed to have. So we commissioned him to come here and build this car. We have the mold in the other building for this.
That's all glass?
That's all glass, and it's heavy. See, if that needs to be carbon fiber,
then you might have something.
And you might have something.
Well, you do get some funny car feel there, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, you just look at that and what they have today. They got, what they've done is it's narrowed in the front, and they got the little wheels inside, and then of course they got their regular windshield here, and the engine's in front instead of in the back, and then they got their great big pickup bed thing back here to push it down on the back.
But you can see some similarities.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, what do you have down back the last row here? There's got to be some more horsepower over there. This seems out of place.
I know. But I knew the people at STP, and I knew Andretti, and it was when we met the president, Nixon, it was there this car and Andretti were up there. So we're going to do something with it. But I need the spot, really.
Shirley's car?
This is the one from the movie, Heart Like a Wheel. We got this off the back lot at 20th Century.
Oh, no kidding.
That's why you can see the paint is damaged. It had been outside for a while. She's quite a lady.
She's been in the sport quite a while.
Yes, she has. She's tough. I mean, she's still out there doing it. And there's the one that the Greek went up to Chicago and brought back.
That's the one,
said, I'm going to go get it right now.
That is great. And that was in the Museum of Science and Industry.
Yeah, you can see there it is in the front steps of the building there.
Yep.
When they were inducting it.
Gosh, the Golden Greek. Now, it was always just unfinished and shiny?
Just like this. This is unrestored.
Man.
Just the way they ran it.
Got the M&H tires. That's pretty much the... Is that the one they more or less built for this purpose?
Yeah, that's the tire.
Now, what sort of wheels did you run in those days?
Magnesium, Halibran. They made most of the wheels. This is a Garlits car here that we built for the Greek. We didn't build the body, we just built the chassis. He was the first one that got a rear engine car from us after we commercially built them.
That's kind of an interesting...
Yeah, it's a good idea. I mean, you can see it's got the things that keep the air from spilling off.
Yeah.
But again, the weight, it ran faster with a little bitty wing on the back. See, because the little bitty wing gave the same down pressure And no weight.
Without any weight.
Yeah.
It's amazing how sensitive to...
They are very sensitive to weight. And you can see this car, Bob Sullivan, the sprint cars.
Yep.
These guys that built this, they were into sprint cars, and you can see it.
You can see it for sure.
Yeah.
But boy, isn't that a wild cockpit?
Yeah.
What years?
59, 60.
Yeah, because that feels real 60 to me.
Yeah.
But you can see the sprint car part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Another 392.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Was that kind of the standard? I mean, was that the baddest engine going?
It was. That's what you had to have. This is the car that Malone and I carried to Indy in '84 and won the Nationals. It's the '81 car. They gave us the comeback.
Too bad you were over the hill.
Yeah. Might have really done good.
What's the deal on this?
This is Art Malone's air car. In other words, he ran the entire run on the compressed air in this tank.
Why?
They pump it up to 6 to keep from having to turn the blower. He figured it took 1,000 horsepower to turn the blower. So again, it was too heavy, and you couldn't get the fuel delivery
Look
right.
at the plumbing there. I mean,
Oh, I know.
that's cast.
I'm telling you, massive.
It looks like water main stuff.
Yeah. Was something else. It went, and the axle runs through the block.
What the?
That's a 426 engine.
Oh
And
my
the
goodness!
axle
Look at
goes
that.
right through the block.
I've never seen anything run like that in my life.
And the clutch, I'll show you, it's got pictures of it. This is the clutch. Clutch is on the axle. This is another thing that was wrong. It wouldn't spin fast enough for the centrifugal weights to kick in. And
Yeah.
you can see the weights on the pressure plate. They're massive
Well,
over
they're
there.
huge. What did this thing weigh? This thing must have tipped
Well,
the
it
scale.
was pretty heavy, but you can see the giant weights, and it still wasn't enough. And this is what it all looked like assembled. You can look at it there. There's the pictures of it.
Gosh. Well, it was certainly an innovative design, and again, a lot of it was all about experimentation.
Yeah, he was working on this before I had my rear engine car, and I was, I was impressed with it, with the work. But I've just figured I'd rather be more conventional.
Yeah. Phew. That was groundbreaking. This is nice.
Yeah, this is the Rocket. See, they've just now exceeded the 450s, but this car was limited. It could have run a lot better than 450s.
So what was it running?
It ran hydrogen peroxide.
Oh, wow.
Rocket engine, see?
So this is the rocket car.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah, that's very nice.
They accelerated so fast it knocked the guys out.
No kidding?
Yeah, and they killed a couple of them. That's why they
Oh,
stopped.
really?
There's some kind of a limit right in there that how much you can
How many G's you can take before you
right
black out?
at a jerk. If you move up on it slowly like the shuttle, you can get up probably 14 or 15 G's. But you didn't take somebody and just shove them 14 or 15 G's, it knocks them out.
Yeah.
It gets woozy at 5.
A whole nother room. Now what is this?
That's from my commercial, the Citgo commercial I made. That's the prop in it, my blown lawnmower. You never saw that commercial?
I never saw that one. That's great. It looks like a Hemi Zamboni or something.
Right.
Bunch of funny cars.
Yeah, yeah. There's another one that's a Rocket. The same guy built this.
Oh yeah. And some kind of more classic early Mopar dragsters.
Yeah.
Huh?
Arnie Beswick's first ride. It was 57 Chrysler. He
Arnie-
wasn't always Pontiac.
Is that right?
That was his daily, and this is the way it was.
Arnie the
No
farmer.
signs. This is all original, not restored, no paint, nothing. Still got the caps on there where he screwed them off to race on the weekends.
Conventional interior.
Uh-huh.
I mean,
Yeah, he drove it to work. I don't know whether you can see the pop-off plug down there or not. It's down there somewhere. I've seen it. But interesting about this car is they only build about 5 of them. This is a 57 Dodge with a 56 Chrysler 300 engine, 354 cubic inches. And Dodge wanted to get into NASCAR. So Chrysler Corporation didn't want the car to be faster than their 300s, which were competing with 392s. So they said, well, we'll just put 354s in these. But the 354 is actually a better race engine than the 392 because of the manifolding. So they sent several of them down to Daytona, and they hot lapped the place and set all the new records in tests. And NASCAR said, well, we can't have that, and just outlawed them with a felt pen.
No kidding.
And so we don't know what happened to those that went down there, but one of them was sitting in a dealership in Hamtramck, and Beswick heard about it, flew over to Detroit, and bought it right off the floor and drove it home.
Two-door.
It's a 501.
Gosh.
A Dodge D501. Probably never heard of that.
I've never heard of it. I've never seen it.
Let's step right back here. This plaque right here is probably
Look at
worth
$4,000
or $5,000.
I've never seen anything like that.
Right.
Well, I grew up in Illinois, and Arnie the farmer was, that's where he raced all the time.
Yeah, this is his car.
That is a rare piece right there.
And he kept it so nice.
It's great. It's original. It's unrestored.
Unpainted, unrestored.
That is Hemi 501. That is great.
But you can see it's not, everything is not all fancy under here. This is the way they shipped them, see?
Well, I'm sure it wasn't fancy when Arnie was running it either.
No.
That is something else. Hemi Coronet.
Yeah, this says only 4 cars exist today, and only this one remains in original condition.
Man.
This is a Hemi car that was it's only got 5,000 miles on it.
Dual quad max wedge here.
This was Lou Furlong's Max Wedge Plymouth. I was at the factory when he picked it up. He was good friends of mine. He's dead now.
What do we have
This
here?
is the V12 of Charlie Hogan. He was the king when he's older than I am, and when I was a youngster racing, he was the king here in Florida. Nobody could outrun him, and he drove this on the street to work, and then at the drags got top eliminator every Sunday.
You know, it's really pretty. A lot of stuff you wouldn't normally see, all the chrome and...
No. Well, he'd take all that off when he raced.
oh, okay. Just strip it down.
Yeah, there should be a picture of him racing over here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. It's got a Cadillac engine in this picture.
Yeah.
We swapped them around a lot, in those days. Again, notice no helmet or anything.
Of course not, yeah.
This is just prior to my first top eliminator run. I beat him. It's the first time he'd been beat. There's a picture, and that's not even me getting the trophy. It's one of my buddies. It's so funny.
What's this?
This is Dean Moon's stuff. I was good friends with Dean Moon. And there was his dragster, and there was a rocket car he sponsored. And this this did the Brighton run every year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, got a Flathead Ford in it.
And I mean, is it purpose built? What's the chassis on it, or?
I don't know. It was a Devon sports car,
Okay,
and he
so
carried out to Bonneville and places like that.
That's pretty cool.
And he passed away, and it was all loaned to us. And this one actually belongs to me. I bought this from a guy, but the 2 others they still belong to the estate.
Wow.
What they're going to do with it? Of course,
Garlits Dodge.
that's my original Roadster.
Wide whites.
Yeah.
Did you run it with wide whites?
No, I didn't have wide whites. I had white wall slicks on it.
Uh-huh. Another 413 Max Wedge. That's
Yeah.
quite an engine too, actually.
Yeah, and this is Granatelli's FIA record Plymouth. Set all the records with it.
Those 62s with the funniest looking body.
Aren't that?
That
And
they
it's a
ever-
one-off.
Yeah, it's a one-off, all right. I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, they didn't sell well.
Now, got to have some Willys.
Yeah. K.S. Pittman's car.
Mm-hmm.
The Olds engine. And Barber's. This is restored. This is not. This is exactly the way it was. She carried me to the garage where it was. The last time she ran it had blown a head gasket. We took the engine apart, put a new head gasket in it, carried out the Norwalk, started it up, and I took it for a spin. It had been in storage 20-some years.
You mean this paint?
All paint, all original.
You're kidding.
Nothing's been done to it.
Man.
There's a participant things where they slapped them on the outside of the windshields,
Gosh.
You can see how it's worn.
Another Flathead.
Yeah, this is an original car from Houston. This car runs nitromethane. It would win top eliminator regularly. It's never been restored either. It's totally original.
Man. Just like it ran. It's a good looking one.
Yeah, that's a modern car. Both of these are modern. Oh, in fact, all three of these are kind of modern cars.
Well, now you got the lights. You got the tree running.
Yeah,
here?
the guys getting here to do reaction times. It's Eddie
Oh,
Hill's
is that
car.
what that is?
Daryl Gwynn's car. This is Swamp Rat 32. That's the first monowing car.
Uh-huh.
And the gold dragster that never ran good, but it's got $75,000 worth of gold plating on it.
Wow. This is you talk about jewelry.
Yeah, this is jewelry. And it's all kind of really strange design. I mean, it's the car's pieces together. See how it bolts together?
Oh yeah.
It's got bulkheads in it. It's real heavy. Look at all the bracing, special bracing on it. Never ran real good, but it was really, the guy was an engineer, and it was all his ideas how the car should be built. And it didn't run good, but they had so much money on it, they never would piece it out and sell it.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of years ago, he called me up. He said, I still got that car in the garage. Do you remember me? I said, I sure do.
How are you going to forget?
I said, how could I ever forget this thing? He said, well, we'd like to give it to the museum if y'all will put it on display. I said, well, you know, we'd love it. It was apart, naturally.
Uh-huh.
So they brought it down here all apart. They had done some changes on the cowl. We had to do all this, had to be repainted. And the fuel tank, they'd made changes on the tank and never finished. I had to finish the fuel tank. It would run.
Well, if somebody's going to get one in parts, you're probably the guy to give it to.
This is the place for it to be, right.
So this is 32?
32, yeah. I actually drove this car. This is the car I hurt my eyes in with the special parachute. Stopped 247 miles an hour, stopped in 300 feet. Took about 7 Gs. And it popped my eyes out and tore the vitreous.
Holy mackerel. And you keep getting back in these things.
Yeah.
Slow learner?
I'm a slow learner.
Man, you have got some great stuff here, Don.
And we've just done a real
this
tip
has
of the
been
iceberg.
Can we take just a quick look at the engine room?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is where all the great Hemis are stashed, right?
A few are in here. And a few Allisons and some Lincolns and some big Chevys. It's like this is the big block Chevy that Smokey Unique built for Can-Am.
Uh-huh.
And because the steel block, it was still too heavy. It made the cars corner too hard. There's the Chevy engine, the winning engine out of the Herb Thomas Darlington, 1955. The winning engine.
Wow.
This is Smokey's dyno. He gave it to me before he died. And this is the Lincoln engine out of the Rodney Singer car that won the Nationals in 1959.
No kidding.
Yeah. Front blower.
That is what a contraption that is.
Yeah, look at all the funny carburetors down there.
Man.
The updraft carburetors.
I've never seen anything like that. That took up some space, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Can-Am fuel injection system you can now buy, right?
Well, no, this is that one that sets over your carburetor. We make these in New Zealand and sell them. So this is all just make-believe stuff for the guys.
But sure
Remember, there would be a carburetor in there, see?
Makes you feel cool, though, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What is this?
This is an Allison. This is an engine out of a P39. This has got, in fact, this has been in the war. It'd been damaged, and they welded it up. They had to fix them in those days. We bought this. It's a nobody's car, but we were going to get Art Arfon's number 11 Green Monster, and it didn't have an engine. Then he ended up giving it to his kid, and he just put it out in the field, and the back it's rusting away.
Oh my God!
Doesn't want to get rid of it.
So that's a V12, right?
16.
16?
Yeah.
They run those in like piston hydroplanes, don't they? A lot. Wasn't that the hydroplane race boat engine?
V12. I think you're right. I think it is a V12.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it? V12 Allison. It is an Allison.
That's a big end. That's got to be
Yeah,
a heavy
V12,
engine.
right. 2 exhausts for each cylinder.
That's got to be heavy.
It's not as heavy as you think because it's
Really?
all aluminum.
Oh, no kidding?
No steel.
Oh, wow.
Just the rods and the
Well, of
crank.
course, I guess it's an aircraft engine. It would
Oh,
be.
boy, is that thing nice inside. Ugh, those engines were out of this world. And what I did in here, a lot of these engines in here are out of the spares out of my dragsters. I always carried 2 engines. So
yeah.
the following year when there was an update, what are you going to do with the spare? Which I didn't blow up that many engines anyway, so I always had a nice fresh one. So I just saved them. So here they all are.
That is
Then
great.
you saw one back in the back,
Yeah.
sitting there by the Daryl Gwynn car.
Same thing, same.
But
just
these, the other ones
leftover?
are different engines, hot rod motors. That's a 41 Plymouth and
Oh, yeah, look at that.
small block front drive Chevy.
With that front blower again?
Yeah, it's a Potvin front drive blower. Here's a Holman and Moody single overhead cam Ford, brand spanking new.
Wow.
I started that thing up. It was unreal. Shot fire out of these pipes like this. It's an unreal engine.
Yeah.
And an Arden, Flathead Arden.
Oh, those are cool.
And then, of
That's
course,
Zora. That was Zora's head, right? Yeah.
Arca Stuntoff. Yep. And
This
this
is
little 60.
Isn't that cute?
Yeah, that Arkansas Offenhauser and just a full race Flathead Ford. And this, of course, I ran Donovan, 1 year, 417s.
Uh-huh.
That's it. And then that's my first Milodon engine when they were the first one that had aluminum blocks for the 426. And I won a lot of races with them.
I like
And
the
later went to
cutaways,
Keith
too.
Black. Yeah, they're like cutaways, I got a cutaway 426.
Yeah.
They only did 3 of those. One's in Race Rock and the other one's in the Chrysler Museum. These are cutaways Chrysler did for different universities and stuff. This was University of Oklahoma. This one, I don't know who they cut this one away for. They're really nice. To shows you the
Well,
chambers and
you
everything.
can see the Hemi, you can see the Hemi
Yeah, how it
combustion
works,
chamber,
right.
how it works. Manifolds, carburetors.
This is the weird stuff. All of that stuff that, what is it? Right? This is picked that up off the drag strip at Gainesville after Amato made a run. Whew. He heard it.
Yeah, I would say. I don't think there's any fixing that one.
No.
Yeah, spoils of war, huh?
Yeah. That's it.
440, 6-barrel, huh?
Yeah, 6-pack. Chrysler Cross Ram that, on the Imperials
Yeah.
and 300s.
That's a great looking.
Early flathead fuel injection when it was Hilburn Travis, before, it was just Hilburn. A solid Federal Mogul heads for flathead, copper, the heat, no water in them, the heat goes off from the copper.
Wow.
All the different experimental rotors they made for the 671s, trying to see what would be better.
Mm-hmm.
Brand new 392, new old stock.
Whoa.
Came out of a dealership.
Boy, that's a priceless piece.
Yeah, they bought it for somebody and they never picked it up.
Man. This is quite the toy store. Really cool, Don. You're my hero.
An old style Waterman injector. Do you ever see one of them way in the back?
No.
That's a top fuel. That's a strange one.
Is that the 59 Lincoln setup right there?
Yes, yes,
That's something.
right. Sure enough. The injectors. There's an odd one. 4 carburetors for a Lincoln V12 Flathead, handmade.
And where do you come across things like that?
Every day, something. This Hudson head was just shipped to me from Wisconsin. The guy was into racing Hudson's aluminum head.
I saw you had a double H. So it was over on the other side. Well, Don, I got to tell you, this has been quite an experience. You've got a heck of a place here. You've preserved it all.
Well, Dennis, I really enjoy it. It's a work of love. We've been on it since 1976, my wife and I. And just last week, a few little things came in that to me are important, and we add them to the collection. As you can see, it's a it's a lifelong project.
Well, this is sort of the Smithsonian of drag racing.
Yeah, I'd like
Thanks
to
a lot,
think
Don.
that.
You're my hero. Cool. Can we take one of these out for a cruise? What do you say?
Yeah, pick one out.
I'll take this one over here. Come on.
Okay.
Nice. You guys get one of these? How much is that? Got the whole story.
Oh, yeah, you can talk, yeah. We're just and you're Travis.
Yes. Christy.
How you spell it?
Christy.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Red lighted.
Yeah.
That's what she did. She red lighted, get him into a full session. And he says, man, I got.
Thank you. When are they filming the?
Wouldn't it be airing this?
It'd probably be early 2002 on Speed Vision.
We just did something like that, that old Dodge truck.
Pretty cool stuff.
Thank you again, Mr. Dennis.
They walk down that little kind of right head. Oh, yeah, you're welcome. No, what a second. Stromberg 97.
Oh, yeah, that's heavy engine too. There's mine was detailed like that.
Even the diesel on the bus ran 8.5 miles a gallon, but and the real price between engine and cylinder. So far up there, I was about them. That's the engine. So the bar. I went to school, Chrysler, which was just a bit bigger, same engine, bigger.
Case for that one.
Yes, many of the old historical photos that we can get.
Okay.
Or take the loud.
I worked on carburetors for him and a distributor and so forth.
Oh, they're
So he's got a bunch of them.
And you got that.
Lightning Grip Company, the area, Stones Center.